All right, here we go. I mean,
Clutch Squad, what is up? And welcome back into Perkaholics Anonymous Podcast, episode number 28. Jeff here, MZC above me. Season 2 for Call of Duty Black Ops 7 Zombies is among us. We're here to talk about it with you guys. We got a lot of things to cover here. Buff of the LGM1. MZC has some late night snack here that he's going to eat that we'll get to if you don't know what I'm talking about. Obviously, we have Mars and the Curse Survival and things of that nature, the starting room challenges and all this different stuff. We're going to get to the community corner and all that stuff. Guys, if you don't know already by now, we just want to reiterate, this podcast comes out at 9 a.m. every Monday. If you don't see it on Monday, we might be doing something later in the week if there's news dropping, but that's our standard time. Just to throw that out there. Number 2, 85% of you guys watching right now aren't subbed. So hit that subscribe button. Make sure you join Tier 2 Perkaholics to get extra content of MZC and me, and it's going to be awesome. All right, MZC, how's it going, man? I know that you've played 200 plus rounds of Mars Survival, so I cannot wait to hear your mental state that you're in right now.
I feel good. Obviously, we'll talk about Mars Survival here in a little bit, but I'm liking the flow of the high round strategy. I was probably going to do a super high round on this anyways, because I felt like this was going to be my favorite high rounding experience on the disc so far, especially probably being the best survival map. But yeah, if I sound a little bit off or I'm kind of like struggling to concentrate a little bit, my sleep schedule's been whack. I've been staying up till like 5 a.m., getting up at like 11 and doing it all over again. So yeah, I have to go to round 999 on Mars. I tweeted that if Treyarch buffed the LGM1 before 2028, that I would do it, and joke's on them, because like I said, I was going to kind of probably do this already, but yeah, not only that, but I also have to eat a tweet that I put out, I think like 2 days before Season 2 dropped. I was like, if they buff the LGM1 before Season 2, I'll print this tweet out and eat it, and I didn't think they were actually going to do it because it wasn't in the patch notes on the day that stuff came out, and then they had a silent buff to it Friday night, like literally 5 o'clock, last second before I left the office. Somebody snuck it in there with like no marketing, no nothing, and it got a pretty decent buff. We'll talk about it here, but I've got the tweet right here. I actually have a brother printer. Fuck brother printers. Never buy a brother printer. Apparently, if you don't have all 4 ink cartridges full, it won't print. There's no way to print in just black and white. So I went to print it, couldn't do it. So here it is. Here's my shitty handwriting, but there it is. That's the tweet in handwritten form. Excuse my 7-year-old handwriting, but I got it right here. I think as we talk about the LGM1 in Mars, I don't know if I could crumple this whole thing. I've never eaten paper before, so I don't, like, do you crumple it up and eat it in a ball? I've got water here. How are you supposed to digest this? Should I like rip it into little pieces and like just like munch on it as we're going throughout the podcast? Like, how do we, have you ever eaten stock paper
the tweet kind of made it sound like you're gonna eat
fiberglass to start munching on my fucking phone.
Sound like you were gonna eat it all once.
All right, well, am I allowed to drink some water or what? Because like I don't want to slit my throat having this drop down the back of my throat when it's balled up and get paper cuts. But do you think it's fair to like water it down a little bit and make it a little soggy? Am I gonna choke and is it gonna get stuck? Like, what's the?
I think it's fair. I think it's, you might be able to kind of take it, one bite at a time. We're gonna have to see, because you're still gonna have to be able to talk to me. But guys, look, guys, the last podcast episode got 185 likes. Let's get to 250 likes for a goal of this episode, and you might see MZC eat weirder things in the future. We might have to do this. You never know. So how are you going to do this though?
Maybe I
you got water 4s in front of you. I can't see. We don't. For people who don't know,
hydrated.
We don't record though with our. We don't look at each other when we record. Yeah. People might think that's weird, but we just record voice and our cameras separately. But like, I never see this dude's facial expressions. We just go off of audio alone, so I can't even see what's going on.
Yeah, I maybe like ripping it into 4s is manageable. It's not a full piece of paper. I like traced out. It's about the size of like a check, like a blank check that you'd write for a bank. And then I wrote it on there. I think.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No. Even if it was like a full sheet of paper, I would have just cut out where the tweet was. I wasn't going to eat like a full ass piece of paper, especially with ink on it. But I don't know. What do you think? What do you think's fair? 4 pieces, 2 pieces, all in one go, and just put a bunch of water in my mouth and try and like chew it up and disintegrate it and flush it down. Like, I've never done that. I don't, even in school, like I knew people that used to eat paper in school. Dude, like, yeah, 2nd grade people would eat paper for fun or spitballs and shit. But like now
Let's try a quarter of it and see how it goes, and then maybe we'll reassess. I'm a little bit nervous for the whole thing.
Okay, here it is. See, you guys can see it there. We're gonna just rip it in half right down the middle, and then we'll put them together again and rip them right down the middle. Oh, that's not right down the middle. Right down the middle again. And now we have 4 pieces of the tweet. We'll do these, I guess, one by one. Maybe I'll eat one and then talk about one part of the buff, eat another one, talk about another part of the buff, and just go down the list here. Like that might be good. All right, so here's piece number 1. You guys can see again, same thing. It's paper. This is interesting. All right. All right, here we go. I mean,
Bon appetit.
This is gonna be tough, dude. This thing,
it sounds kind of good.
It's like eating a straw. It's not. It's turning into a clump, but it's not. It's like turning into pill size. If I can get this down to like pill size, I think we should be good. I'm just gonna have like 4 paper shit pellets come out though, so hopefully this doesn't cause any problems. All right, I'm gonna take it down with water like a pill. I think that's fair. You think it's fair?
I think that's fair. I'm just shocked that out of all the things that have been happening right now, whether it's you having to eat a piece of paper or
we're okay.
Or going to 999. I don't know what's the 999 seems kind of easy in comparison at this point.
It went down pretty easy. It wasn't too bad. It just tastes like it's like a soft pill, like a gummy pill, I guess. But okay, so that's 1/3. You guys can see here are
maybe you could get up and get some salt and season it.
Maybe put some hot sauce on there or some hot dog water. I mean, anything, man. Here are the last 3 pieces of paper. So we're gonna go over the first part of the LGM1 buff. Shout out to TREYARCH again for making it happen. Honestly, I was not expecting it. I don't think anyone was. I was editing a video and I got the notification on my watch that was like zombies, like patch notes or whatever, go live, and I'm like, this can't be anything more than like a leaderboard fix or whatever. And all of a sudden my tweets start blowing up. People were like, yo, tagging me in it, and then I of course looked and I was like, oh my god, no way. We tested it, and it's honestly pretty, the buff is pretty noticeable. We'll talk about it a little bit more in like the Mars cursed survival part of this, but first let's go through what they actually did to the LGM1. We've got, for the first part, players can now hold the trigger to fire the LGM1 automatically. Definitely a bit of a genius update there. It's not something that I would have thought to add, but it is actually nice to be able to just spray it off. It feels like it shoots a little bit faster that way, even if that might not be the case, but it feels like that at least, and it's a little bit smoother to run around with. That one's probably the most least noticeable of the 3 things they did to it. I think that's just because I'm so used to tapping it that I just continue to tap fire, and don't really think about it. But you used it. I mean, when you got it out of the mystery box, were you did you start using it automatically, or were you just still tapping it? I'm gonna down the second piece of paper here while you go.
No, I've been using it automatically. I'm actually shocked that they did this, believe it or not. And I wonder if this was kind of like a unilateral decision in the office and just put it out at the 11th hour on whatever day that was, Friday night, leaving the office, like you said. Like they're listening to this. I feel like a lot of people weren't up in arms about the LGM. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like a very, right down the middle wonder weapon. I feel like a lot of people don't really love it, and I feel like a lot of people don't really hate it. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting on my end that they actually went along and did this, but I'm happy that they did this. Or even if it was minimal buffs, which I think me and you were going to agree upon, that's really all it needed at the end of the day. It didn't need this whole revamp. It's an interesting concept. It's a cool wonder weapon regardless, nonetheless. It was always like that. It was always aesthetically pleasing. It always had interesting mechanics. It just needed a little something extra, and I think they did a good job here. I think they've actually shown with this buff that making small tinkering changes is actually viable and could be good for the longevity of the game, because I was not using this thing before it was buffed. I was not loading into Asher, and I was not going and building this thing. I wasn't going into, maps and using wonder bars and trying to pull it. But now it's like, hey, you giving me an environment where this is the wonder weapon on the map, obviously being Mars Survival, and you give me an incentive to go and check it out and play with it again. Almost like how it kind of felt like at launch. It felt like a relaunch of of the map with Mars, and it felt like a relaunch of this wonder weapon. And I had a blast with it, 100%.
Yeah, so the next change that they made is that they added an increased radius to allow for more killing power against multiple enemies. So what this means is it's not, the UFOs aren't jumping from zombie to zombie and attacking. It's essentially just, if you shoot it into a cluster of zombies, it's likely that it can spread and kill 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 zombies in that little cluster. So if you're shooting it at one zombie individually, you're not going to notice a difference. It's not going to like kill a zombie and then bounce around, kind of like a Wonder Waff would if you shot like the first zombie to horde and it bounces around a little bit. Like, that's not how it's going to work. It's just, if you get a cluster of them, it'll spread a little bit. And then the last change is they increased the UFO duration from 5 seconds to 6.5 seconds, which I think that allows for it to actually kill at the health cap and continue on moving forward. And that's a very noticeable change when you're going for high rounds. I did 100 rounds on Mars the first night that it came out before the buff, and it was basically just AAT, waiting for, the next proc to come back. You really couldn't use the LGM one, but now it's actually viable enough to at least like do some damage to zombies and kill some zombies while you're waiting for your AATs to proc, so you can progress the rounds a little bit faster. So it's not a buff that you're really going to notice if you're not really like training. I think like there's no sitting in a corner. It doesn't make this viable to sit in a corner until 999 with it. It doesn't, turn it into a thunder gun or really beef it up in any way, shape, or form outside of just being more viable for training, which is exactly what I think the weapon needed. And I'm glad they didn't go overboard with the damage or anything. At this point, I think if they left it like this, I'd be perfectly fine with it forever. I think it achieves what you want it to. I'd have to see it play on Astra a little bit more, since obviously the main map for it isn't Mars Survival, it's Astra Malorum. I have not used it on Astra yet. We'll have to see what goes on there. I think they also said Oscar tuning is coming too in one of the patch notes, so we'll see what that is in maybe a week or two or whenever that update goes live. But I think if you wanted to make it better from here, and I don't have a leg to stand on, I've been saying this in the streams, like they pretty much did exactly what I said they should do to it, which is extend the duration of the UFOs, right, and bounce to zombies or spread to multiple enemies. Like, I don't have a leg to stand on here, but if you were to do anything else to it, I think like maybe a couple more bullets, maybe up it to 9 would be better, because you could actually, see, that's even getting into you could probably wipe half of a horde or 3/4 of a horde of a train on like 100 plus with it, and that's becoming like pretty OP. Now you're looking at like a really OP wonder weapon. It is infinite ammo. I know some people are still like, this should be one of many changes coming. I can't see them adding an alt fire to it or any sort of other like buff outside of what they've done, except for increasing damage, which I don't think it needs that, because now then you're probably getting into, okay, it can spread to 4, 5, 6, or 7 zombies all at once. Like that might be a little overkill. I think ammo might just be the only other tweak to it, but I would have to play with it first, because I could see where it'd become very broken very quickly. And I actually agree with Kevin on the dev talk of him talking about like, you got to be careful with infinite ammo wonder weapons, and you do, but it definitely is more noticeable, especially if you're training and you've got a cluster of zombies. But again, if you're just firing it off individually at zombies, it might kill a little bit faster, and that's it. But it definitely is a pretty solid buff, and it's not, like you alluded to, it's not incredibly overpowered. It's not all of a sudden like this massive thing. It's like the perfect amount of tinkering to not completely break it, but also allow you to use it in a high round strategy that's viable without it being just kind of you just shoot at some zombies, do some damage, maybe kill 1 or 2, and move on from there. So it's usable in the high rounds now, but not overkill, erases everything, and all you're doing is just spamming this wonder weapon while you train around. So I think it actually plays very well with the Mars strategy itself. I got 2 more pieces of paper here. My throat's feeling a little weird. I'm going to let you take over, and I'm going to finish these 2 clumps right here.
His throat's feeling a little weird, folks. His throat's feeling a little weird, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, though, as you finish your dinner, you've hit the nail on the head with this for the last couple of weeks, because I'm fully on board with whatever you want to call it, a hunch, a lightweight conspiracy theory, however you want to describe it. I'm fully on board with that they changed some of these season 2 plans around. Regardless of it, if it was Paradox Junction, being, coming out at the launch of season 2 or whenever it's supposed to come out now, season 2 Reloaded, which is something we're going to talk about in the post show of this episode. So if you want to hear us talk about the Paradox Junction rumors and the Nuketown quote unquote rumors, subscribe to tier 2 at MZC's channel, join the membership tier 2 Perkaholic. We're going to get an extra segment of content regarding that in the post show. But I think that stuff got moved around, and then this buff was a part of it to a certain extent, because what have you been saying all these weeks leading up to all this content that they've revealed here? If you really want to go to round 75 and do the cursed, challenge, you get the golden spork and high round and do the leaderboard event, they actually needed to do something with the LGM. They didn't need to totally take it up to level 100 or a level 100 plus, but I don't know. Is Mars Survival as fun or as viable or as doable without these changes? That's what I'm kind of curious to hear from your perspective. I know you said that you did 100 rounds before it was buff, but think about, kind of the average or like the median player in the player base that wanted to compete in the leaderboard event before the LGM buff compared to it now. Like getting to 55 plus, I think, is a lot more doable with the changes that they've made to it.
It's certainly more doable, but it's still not a tactical wonder weapon. That's not the right. But
it's not like easy.
It's not an easy wonder weapon to use, right? So like the first couple of nights, or the first night on Mars with it, I still got to 100, but I had a couple of Dying Wish procs. Obviously, still learning the strategy and figuring things out, but you could still do it. But it was really heavily reliant on your AATs. So like having caustic fumes, basically all your major and minors on whatever ammo mod you're using, whether it's fireworks, napalm burst, brain rot, any other ones that were like light men, stuff like that. Like if you didn't have those double minor slots, they weren't going to be as good. It would take you much longer to get to higher rounds. And I think that's reflecting in most of the leaderboards. The majority of leaderboards that I've seen, including mine, people are like kind of tipping out like right around 55, which is where the health cap is for the zombies, and like that's where everything stops. It's where like damage stops in regular and cursed. It's 100, but with pack 4 and ultra rarity, that'll scale up there too. And the benefit of doing it in cursed, that you have golden armor plates. So for the majority of people that are trying this, everyone's getting destroyed right at the last like buff to the zombies at 55, and it seems like that's where the majority of people are kind of falling off. Sure, you have a couple people going to 60 or 70, and then you've got the real good OGs, just absolute demons that are 100 plus. But yeah, I think if you can get to like 55, 60, 70 on this map, like I think that's a pretty good number of rounds to achieve, or that's a pretty good high round number for this map right now, especially if you're somebody who doesn't have all the minor augments and major augments for everything in the game. Like this is definitely, I think, the hardest round 100 in the game, or the hardest round 100 and the hardest survival map in the game. And I know we'll move into like kind of the controversy around this, but a lot of people on Twitter are not happy with Mars, because it's a survival map, so you expect it to be more of a casual, like I just want to hop in and camo grind, or I just want to hop on and go for 20 rounds, 25 rounds, level up my stuff. Like I totally understand that when it comes to survival maps. I think Farm does a good job of that. I think Diner does a good job of that. Cosmodrome is kind of a step closer to more of a hardcore experience without a trap, but it's still manageable, right? And you can still, like, if you really want to go to high rounds, you can jump off the wall and shoot the RPG at your feet. But here, you really can't do that with the amount of Uber Klauses that are spawning in, and you really can't do that with the LGM1 or and on here because of zero grab. So, and when that turns it off, they're too quick to get to you. So it's the only strategy that I've found that's like actually viable that I'd feel comfortable with is training. So this map on the higher rounds plays like a Black Ops 3 map. It plays like a Ascension or a Kino der Toten or any other of the maps that you have to basically rely on.
It plays very much like Ascension.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the spawn room of Ascension where you call the lander out and you have the area next to the Shiva opened up and you make like that little banana cut down there to basically just hoard up zombies, AAT proc Deadwire, and then switch over to Turned or whatever your secondary one is. You have your Thunder Gun in your back pocket in case you get capped or in case you get pushed into a corner or something happens. But the majority of the time, it's basically just AAT, Thunder Gun, AAT, Thunder Gun. It's the same thing here. Now, obviously, LGM1 isn't as good as the Thunder Gun, but with the recent buff, it at least allows you to be killing zombies while you're waiting for your AATs to recharge. Yes, you can have a third AAT, but you're going to have to wait for all three of them to recharge. I think it's better to have the LGM1 now as that third weapon to continuously progress through the round while you're waiting. Otherwise, this high round is already going to take 250, 300 hours to get to 999. If you didn't have the LGM1 passively killing zombies, who knows how long that strategy would actually take. But I get it. I think the last point before I throw it over to you, because I know you've actually played a good amount of this, and I want to hear your opinions on it as somebody who hasn't been going for 350, 400 rounds now over the course of a couple of days. But I know the last big piece of like this needs to change is the Uber Klaus cores, and this is where I'm interested to hear your opinion. But so there are about 2 to 3 Uber Klauses that can spawn per round past like 20, and they're very, very tanky. Like they are hard to kill on the lower rounds. The Hunter bots, the Tomahawks, the War Machine I think does the job. I also think that the Grim Reaper does the job pretty well, but then you're spending a lot of salvage in lower rounds to craft those things until you get to the higher rounds. But until like 60 or 70 or 80, the Hunter bots won't one-tap the Uber Klauses. Once you get to that point, it one-taps the Uber Klauses, and I think the map actually becomes a little bit easier outside of the zombies' speed and damage they can hit you with. But I wouldn't be opposed to them turning down the amount of Uber Klaus spawns in the lower rounds. Like if they were to do 20, 23, 26, 29 every 3 rounds with 1 spawning in, I think that'd be fine. And then I could also see them adjusting, or I'd want them to adjust the Uber Klaus core spawns too. Again, it's not as big of a problem in the high rounds because you have equipment that can one-tap them. But in the lower rounds, certainly, especially for people that are just trying to hop on and have a good, a fun, chill night, it's not going to be a walk in the park. It's not going to be a Zersa pulling up on you with Uber Klaus. Now, me personally, as an elitist, I don't mind them at all. I think that, some survival maps should be harder than others. Farukt is harder than Shinonuma. 5 is harder than Kino. Shangri-La is harder than Moon. Nuketown is harder than Town. Like, I think that we can't just make survival maps particularly very easy, because now we're getting into like what happens if they take that same approach with Nuketown survival.
Go play Farm if you want an easier survival map.
But what happens if Nuketown comes out and now all of a sudden they're scared to, have random perks because it's going to be too hard and I just want to hop on Nuketown and have a chill time. Like, I don't want them to. Every map does not need to be a walk in the park, easy, casual, fun survival map. There can be a challenge one from time to time. You adjust the spawns, but this map I think right now is actually the best of survival maps. I'm gonna throw it over to your opinions on not only Mars, but like your time with the training, because I know you are going for a top place here in the leaderboard.
Yeah, no, honestly, I mean, I think you end there with a good point. Like, I get it, but we can't just ask for all the payoffs without any of the drawbacks. Like, there has to be some give and take when it comes to digesting content. Like, I get it, you want to play on Mars, the anti-gravity is cool, the setting is cool, it's easily the coolest survival map, but it's like you can't have all that and be like, oh, it needs to be the easiest too. So I just think the easy fix for Mars is keep the regular Uber Klaus spawns the same, and then just get rid of all the additional core spawns. Okay. If that makes sense. I think that would be the easiest way to fix it. Like, why on the higher rounds? That's what I found more annoying than anything, is why are the cores spawning at such a high frequency by themselves and not the actual Mecha Klaus past like 50? And it's not even. Here's my thing. Like, I like the challenge and I enjoyed it. I can understand where people don't like the spam. Like, I 100% can identify with that thinking and that point of view. It's not like the Uber Klaus is like that. It's not like that's what gets you killed. It's the fact that when that comes on the map, you kind of lose your focus to everything else that you were doing before, and you can't just focus on the zombies. When it's just like if one of the Uber Klauses spawns like early in the round and you know that it's there and you're like, oh, okay, cool, like, and you're ready to go, it's not that big of a deal. If you have a War Machine, if you have the Hunter bots ready to go, it's all your microing after the fact, and when they spawn mid round and you kind of lose focus on the zombies, and when they get to be super sprinters and when they get to start doing the max amount of damage, and you're not in tier 3 curse, like if you're just playing a regular game like I was and trying to min max your plates and anti-gravs coming on, and like it's not like the easiest it's not the easiest crafting table to go over there. And I had all the salvage in the world. I had probably 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 salvage at some point. If you're burning shrouds to make sure that you have stuff stocked up, however you're playing it, and I wasn't playing with any gums, I didn't play with any gobble gums the whole time, wasn't even procking killjoys or power kegs or anything. I think if I go in there, I'm going to go back in there probably with gums and have just a blue pack of killjoys and power kegs and some of like just the more helpful blues, because I want the golden spork obviously, but I have to get that. I have to do a lot of curse stuff for that as well. But I want to get higher than the 67 rounds that I put up onto the leaderboard. But it's like, if you're not really popping gums, I could see where it's really difficult. And if you don't have the golden armor. Another thing I will say right here, MZC, just to get it out of the way. I've seen people say this a lot on X a couple of days, and I was like trying to put it off, trying to not be negative, but the more I think about it and the more I've played it, the game really does feel a little bit broken for controller. It feels a little bit broken to me in general on a couple of other points. I've just had such a good time with Mars Survival, and then I played Ashes of the Damned Starting Room right after. It was amazing to me how much easier the Ashes of the Damned Starting Room was compared to Mars Survival. I think that really tuned up my skills and, you know, got me on top of my game, because it's like you have actually less resources in the starting room, you know, challenge of Ashes than you do with just a regular Mars. And I went 50 rounds. I don't even think I might have procced one dying wish being stupid. And that's not even with, you can't even get full plates in there. You're on one plate for 50 rounds. Obviously the Xursa is so much easier, but it's like, okay, this Mars Survival challenge is like a different level of difficulty. I love what they did with the leaderboard event. I think that was really smart. They just have to dial it in and get everything tuned in so there's no BS, you know, when it comes out for the next time, and there's no, oh, you could play any map or do whatever you want to do, and they don't have to wipe the boards. As long as they tune that in, I think that's a good model going forward for at least the survival aspects and the survival like content drops. I don't know if you could do that, or if they would want to do that for a main map, for like a DLC map. It might not make sense for that if they were to incorporate leaderboard events for like DLC 2 or other DLCs moving forward. But I'm having a lot of fun with this update, and I think there's probably 3 or 4 points I could hit on if you want to go back and forth right now and see if it's a PC versus, I know that the plating is a controller thing, and I know that golden armor gets rid of a lot of that. I think that's the main thing if you want to succeed for the Mars, you know, survival. Golden armor is like the biggest 1A thing to have. Obviously gobblegums too, if you want to use that. But I don't know, there's just some other inconsistencies with this game from this update where I'm kind of sitting there like, I don't know if I'm like losing my mind or if it's something that other people are recognizing, but I'm just curious if there's any other like quality of life or like how the game feels to you compared to pre-update before Mars.
Yeah, I definitely think we should take this time to reiterate, like, it's not good on console right now if you have a controller, especially if you play with certain settings like tap to loot and all that good stuff. I don't experience that personally, being on keyboard and mouse, and that's a good point. I never thought about that, but with like golden armor, I don't typically find myself replating too much when I've been playing Mars. But just because it's not affecting me on PC doesn't mean it's not a real problem. There's more people using a controller than there are a keyboard, so I can see where, like, you know, that's very frustrating. It's just
like let me try.
Go ahead.
People understand this at home, but like, so I'm holding my controller up, like, so triangles plate. Like before this update, like you could legitimately get away with, like, it felt like a half 1000 almost, where you're like, and it plates like this. Now I feel like I'm legitimately holding this button down for much longer to get a plate off. I have some theories about it, and I think this is a quality of life change that they need to implement. And I know this is going to sound like dumb and counterintuitive and like, oh, why are you complaining about this? But you know what else bothered me about Mars Survival? And you're going to disagree because you've been 200 plus rounds, and it's understandable for the high round strategy, but I was never going to go that far. I was only going to go to probably 100 at the most. And obviously I think 75 is the goal when it comes to the curse rewards, but I wish I could go over to the fizz and disable a perk. I don't want to play with mule kick. I don't. And I think that's part of the update on controller that broke it, because a soft touch like switches weapons for you like a lot quicker now on triangle, because the switch weapons is the same thing. The tap to triangle is hold triangle for plates. So the haptic interaction with the button got messed up with this update somehow. It's very clunky. It's like, it's not broken by any means, but like it's an extra learning curve when you've been playing this game for 3 months one way, and then it's like, okay, you kind of have to switch up how your thumbs actually interact with the controller. Number 2, I know I've been hearing you on streams, you've been having, I think it seems more of like a positive experience with this. I feel like my ammo mod procs have been so inconsistent. I played 50 rounds of Ash's starting room. I played almost 70 rounds of Mars. For 120 rounds, I have no idea when my ammo mods are going to proc. Maybe it's an augment thing. I got to go in and relook at all my augments. But I feel like I'm using the LGM for like minutes at a time. Or on Ash of the damn starting room, I was using the ray gun for like legitimately like half a round. I pull out my weapon with fireworks on it, or when I have elemental pop on the starting room, no proc. I'm shooting into the horde, nothing. I don't know if you're experiencing that. Same way with some of the interaction with Vulture's Aid. I feel like I'm running over plates with Vulture's Aid and it's not auto plating for me, and I know the augment is on. Sometimes it's doing it, sometimes it's not. It's not picking up my tacticals, it's not picking up my lethals that I have stashed in my, I'll have one tomahawk, I'll run over a tomahawk, sometimes it won't pick it up. So just a little bit of stuff like that. I don't want to sound negative. I don't know. It's just some of the quality of life stuff that I think is a little bit interesting. Like they don't know what's going to break when they put out updates. We talk about this all the time, but it seems like a couple of things just kind of went haywire with this update.
Yeah, I haven't had in regards to the ammo mods, I would look at your elemental pop ammo mods and just see if like either they got unequipped or you don't have the right ones. I haven't had any issues with it. I do feel like it's taking a little bit longer to proc the ammo mods, but this is like it would be so tough to find like to do this. But like I wonder if like maybe it could show you like highlight in the bottom where the ammo mod is on the HUD, like when it's ready to proc. So like let's say it like lights up slightly, or like, you know, let's say fireworks becomes like colorful, or like the icon is illuminated when it's ready to go. I think that would just be like a great quality of life change, rather than just spamming off the weapon, hoping and praying and it's gonna proc. I haven't had that issue. What was the one after that? After the ammo mod one?
Plates, like picking up stuff
that's been bugged for a long time. Like that's been in the game since at least Vatherion or the first update.
Has it always been this bad? I feel like it's so bad.
I feel like it was worse.
Now.
I feel like it's gotten better. Maybe it's because I'm using golden armor plates, but I haven't had that happen too bad. What I've had happen, surprisingly not on Mars, because I've seen a lot of people say it happens on Mars. Mine happened on Exit 115, where you go to interact with a TED trial and it just doesn't work. Like it won't let you start the trial even if you have the right amount of cash, and you have to wait for the next one.
See, I haven't had that problem.
See that, and that's
how
very
weird is that? Like I have had no problem with TED tasks, and a bunch of people have.
Yeah, dude, I don't know if it's like a console thing. I don't know if it's a PC issue. I don't know if it's like a BattleNet issue versus a whatever. Like obviously, you know, a new massive season update rolls out and things get broken when they, you know, get updated this time around. A lot of like, I wouldn't say it's like game breaking, but annoying bugs have spawned in here and they need to nail down. Like I'm sure a lot of this will be sorted out by next week, early on next week to mid next week, if I had to guess. I guess the best bright side is this didn't happen with like a big DLC launch, because like if this stuff had happened with a DLC launch, now you're looking at like, dude, this is terrible.
True.
And I'm not making an excuse for it. I'm not saying like this shouldn't happen, but I mean, if you had to have it happen now rather than have it happen alongside a map that's already probably going to be pretty controversial, like better to kind of get this shit nailed out now and hope it doesn't get as bad when the next map comes out than later on. But that's not to excuse the issues. The last thing I'll say between the bugs and everything going on, you know, there's a lot of controversy with the leaderboard event. And you know, for the day one, any map was counting your highest round. And also if you had like a save file on round 300 prior to the update going live and you loaded into that would count towards leaderboard. Like that's not okay. Like that's not, I'm sure it was working fine before they pushed the update out, but like that can't happen. Like that's going to put so many people, and has put so many people off the event because they're just like, I'm not even doing this. So they made it right. They wiped everything and reset the leaderboard. Thankfully, if you had a save file for Mars, you could load into that and that would count. But then it was like exfilling wasn't counting. Only downing or saving and quitting was actually updating the leaderboard. So if you got to 100 in one sitting and then died, or exfilled on 100, it wouldn't count towards the leaderboard, which is a major issue there. So they fixed that. Then there's it's to this day, to the entirety of the time, it doesn't matter what survival map you were on. So if you went to Van Dorn Farm and ran up 150 rounds, that would technically count towards the leaderboard too, which is, again, you can't have that happen. But with all of that being said, I don't want them to go away if they're going to keep doing leaderboards. This was a fantastic one for survival maps or for zombies in general. Like, I don't mind the Easter egg completions for points, kills for points, stuff like that. Like, those are fine. They're better than the Archie Adam pickups or whatever other, the caps and stuff like that. But I don't want them to go away from this. I think this is a great. I don't think there's anything wrong with this style of leaderboard as long as it works. And there's not, I mean, you're asking for a lot here, but there's not like an AFK glitch where you can sit in a corner. Like if there was a leaderboard for Liberty Falls last year like this, then it would just be people sitting in the vault with a jet gun to whatever round they could conceivably get to. So you don't want that to happen. But again, I think if they do Nuketown Survival at some point in the future, I would love to see this style of leaderboard come back. I don't think there's anything wrong with it as long as it's working and there's no exploits. A lot to ask for there, especially when you have people that are actively searching for exploits to find for content or to put out there and, to help people win the leaderboard or choose the leaderboard. Like, people are always going to find glitches, but don't go away from this leaderboard style if you have to. Like, I'd rather have this than caps for sure. I know you're pretty high on it too, but like I think Nuketown should get the same treatment here and maybe a calling card too on top of the Gobblegum. But I do think that weekend leaderboard for highest round is actually a really sick concept and something that, if working, bodes really well for the mode versus some bullshit pickups.
And unfortunately, too, I don't know if a lot of people even know if this leaderboard is going on or even tabbed over to the event, because I feel like there's a handful of people in my ladder that are like, they went to 50 or 51 and stopped. Like there's like 5 or 10 people in my ladder that are on like that. Their round is 50. So like they're just going to get the rewards and then there's kind of stopping after that. They don't even know that the leaderboard event is going on, which I know sounds weird. Like you're a zombies player, you're hopping in to get the rewards. But I feel like that's happened too, where I don't even know if there was a lot of exposure. I don't know how many people are actually playing this update. It seems like the sentiment there is high. And obviously the skill gap that has been clearly raised, like the ceiling has clearly been raised on the skill in this game when it comes to high rounding something like Mars Survival. But it's been interesting. And honestly, another backdoor interesting mechanic for Cursed. Like, I mean, I don't really think a lot of people thought that Cursed would even be an aspect of survival going into this game, what we know, and look where it's at now. So it's been a good update in my opinion.
I agree. The one thing I'll say is like I was pretty I wouldn't say like harsh on Cursed. I just didn't like that there were so many relics in the game, or the relics that were in the game had very harsh penalties. And I don't like the entire limitation of the sandbox of what we have. Like, when like 4 perks is fine because you can kind of cheese that or whatever, like the self revives you can get through TED tasks. Some of the other one, like the salvage and salvage drop rate halved isn't bad either. But like the mimic stuff for a tier 1 relic, like that was like just annoying to me. And I had to be running that in order to get a lot of the Astra relics right off the rip. And it was like, I just don't, it kind of soured me on the mode. But since I've been playing it a lot more, since there's been some more relics that have come out that are like lesser debuffs, I've really come to enjoy it a lot more. I think that one of the most underrated aspects of it is that with PAP 4, I don't want to say all of them, but most of the weapons in the game have some sort of secret Pack-a-Punch ability, which really brings me back to like being a kid playing World at War and Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 and the fun in like testing different weapons and seeing what the Pack-a-Punch ability was going to be. Like I remember in Black Ops 1, you're like, oh dude, the AUG gets the shotgun or whatever, the grenade launcher, the M16 gets the nade launcher. Like what's the ballistic knife going to do? What's the pistol going to do this time? Like what's, the HS-10 was a dual wield shotty. Like just testing weapons was fun back then. And I feel like very recently over the past couple of iterations of COD, there really haven't been too many. Like last year had some, but not every weapon had a Pack-a-Punch ability and most actually didn't. So Cursed gets a plus for me there. The golden armor plate. Go ahead.
And even to piggyback off of this, MZC, not to cut you off, but just from being a casual observer for plenty of hours of your streams, Mars Survival to me has solved and people might disagree with this. If you don't like the modern system, you're going to disagree with this. I think maybe a little bit, but Mars Survival has partially solved, I think, modern zombies' biggest issue. And its replayability and its lack of diversity. They put all the stuff into the game for us, the augments, the loadouts, the this and the that. And what happened? The gobblegums. And what happens? the meta gets kind of boiled down, like how everything is in COD these days. It's not the COD of 15 years ago. You know, everyone's a content creator. Everyone puts out guides. There's websites for attachments and loadouts and class and all this stuff. It's not like how it used to be, obviously. But what has the common denominator been in a lot of these hours of you streaming? It's chat and you and interaction of, hey, maybe this will work. We were talking about the energy mines the other day. I don't even think that's anything you tried, but it might be interesting. How did we get to the hunter bot conclusion? Testing and trial and error. Oh, we're going to try three different, we're going to try the ammo mods and that's going to carry us. You're even kicking around getting rid of the wonder weapon at one point to get a third weapon with ammo mods. Oh, you're backing out and switching augments. People are in the chat. What augments are you running? What relics are you using? This and that. It's actually an interactable and replayable experience where it's like, hey, how many times is there 100? And it's like, oh, the strategy is like this. Bam, you could get to 100 or 999. This is kind of a fluid and evolving situation where every 50 rounds you're kind of sitting back and thinking and playing, I could play it a little bit more. I could play it a little bit safer and it could take longer, but maybe I've already lost a dying wish, or let's try to get through these rounds quick. Let's save and quit after the Ravagers, whatever it may be. If it's an exploit, if it's not, if it's just switching augments around, if it's a glitch, there's a lot of different aspects that go into high rounding this map. I think it's interesting and refreshing. I think a lot of people are agreeing. A lot of people are tuned in to what you've been streaming, you know, throughout the whole weekend.
That's what I've seen, is that a lot of people that are interested are like, man, I like watching this more than sitting in a corner. And that's not, again, it's not a dig at anybody at all. I'm not saying like, oh, you know, because you can train around. Like, I'm just saying, like, people, like, I remember the high round community used to love watching like Shangri-La streams or even Kino on the stage, because you're like constantly, you know, moving. There's the constant threat of like, he might die, or what if he fucks up or something like that. Like that hasn't been the case for any map in the modern era. I think all of Cold War was Ring of Fire, sit in a corner. All of BO6 was really, for the most part, sit in a corner with a wonder weapon, or get to the point where you can just salvage your way to, you know, whatever the Mangler injects. And I think that's what they tried with Oscar and Astra Malorum, and a lot of people don't like it because they're like, there's no viable strategy. And yeah, like the LGM one could have been better when it came out. Oscar could have been either a little bit weaker, or like there could have been some, you know, rewards for taking him down. But like between the Death Machine, the War Machine, like that stuff, like you can take him down pretty quickly. But I think they've really tried to eliminate, with Astra Malorum, the ability to just sit in a corner with PhD, jump off of a wall and shoot the RPG or the Necro Fluid at your feet. I think they've really tried to change up the play style, because if you don't have a War Machine or you don't have the salvage for that, you have to basically run to the middle of the map, call in the rocket trap, and kill Oscar and take him out that way. Now, him spawning every round definitely gets frustrating after 50 targets you. I just think that those changes in their head were probably like, hey, the reason why Oscar works like this, the reason why we've implemented some of these changes here and really switched up the formula, is because we don't want you to sit in the corner. We've heard you guys say you don't want the strategies to be spam mutant inject. They don't want you to spam field upgrade. They don't want you to be able to just sit in a corner. They want to force you to play the right way, like you know, the right way, right? Like whatever. But yeah, I think they've really tried that, even with the town survival, or not town, the farm survival in the beta. Like that whole strategy was run around, pull the trap, and you couldn't even really proc ammo mods because there were no augments. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that it's crazy that Mars survival, like these, I guess the smallest map, has really become like the ideal way to play zombies again. Like I said, this is literally the reason why I'm so into this. And honestly, I was going to try for a really high round. I don't know about 999, but I would have tried for a really high round on Mars, was because it makes me feel like I'm playing Ascension or Kino or any of the Black Ops 3 maps. And like I could say that, and I could say, oh, it plays like Black Ops 3, and people are going to look at me and go, what the fuck are you talking about? There's salvage, there's armor, like blah, blah, blah. Like it's not, how could you even compare these two? They're not even, it's not even the same game. Like the actual fundamental strategy itself on Mars survival, once you get to a certain point, is literally the same loop that we had in Black Ops 3, and that's why it kind of hooks me. And that's why I would even consider doing this again for Nuketown survival. If there are no traps, the only way to do this is really like run around, use the wonder weapon, and train, because it's engaging to me. Like it's fun. I enjoy like just getting into flow state and zoning out and doing that, and I think that they've really recreated that very well here. Before we move on, I don't want to I don't know. First of all, I don't remember who tweeted this out at all. And I also don't want to put their name out there because this isn't supposed to be like, we're not hating on this whatsoever. But I saw there was some criticism from multiple people that were talking about how there was like very minimal progression in Mars, where like with Van Dorn Farm, you had to turn on the power and open a couple of doors, With Cosmodrome, same thing. There are a few doors there. 115, couple of doors to kind of like scale. You can't just jump into whatever. I, again, don't know. Like, I don't think anybody was expecting them to add in barricades on this. And I saw some people kick around the idea that like you could have the observatory or whatever, the orrery, whatever that area is called, where you teleport to Mars and have like two little split areas. That could have been fine too to give you some progression, but I don't see the problem with this just being a sandbox. You load in, you can immediately pack a punch the second you have the points. You can immediately go for salvage the second you have the points. I don't think barriers were needed on this map, but I want to equate this as like, imagine if they were to remaster Area 51 from Moon. And, you know, they're saying, oh, Area 51 survival is coming to the game. Yeah, there'll be a pack a punch. Yeah, there'll be a crafting table. Yeah, there's a Wonder Fizz. It's not going to just be Juggernog or Speed Cola or whatever, but like we're going to make this a survival map. I would expect that map be, you spawn in and it's super sprinters it's basically Rampage Inducer the entire time. It's pretty much faithful classic to Area 51, instead of them slowing down the zombies from rounds 1 through 20 or 30 before they start running, adding barriers like it's classified and putting those like every 3 rounds, like the little shoots will rain up or whatever, and then you can kind of like clear out the area that way to give it like some progression. I would, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, again, if you disagree, you're not wrong at all. There's no the right or wrong answer for this. I'm just saying, for me personally, I would much rather see it just be you're dumped into Moon round 1, they're super sprinters, and that's the challenge, versus it kind of easing your way into it for progression's sake and having those barricades lift. But if that's your take and you really believe that, like, don't let me talk you out of it. I'm just giving my own personal opinion. It's something that I've seen been brought up to me a couple of times and on Twitter. Again, no hate to anybody that has that opinion. Just I kind of want to talk about it here and give my thoughts and be like, I wouldn't expect Area 51 to have progression just for the sake of it versus the actual challenge and fun of spawning in with Rampage going on.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I love the way Mars is set up. I think spawning into Vandorn Farm and shooting the spores and turning the power on and having to waste points on the barn buy, the house buy, the armor buy, I think it's annoying as shit, actually. So I'm cool with the way Mars is. I don't really understand what people thought they were gonna do there. Like they're gonna like make in bear, like, it's just, guys, at the end of the day, it's just cutouts of the map. That's all it is. It's just cutouts of stuff that already exists. You know, that's all it is at the end of the day. So, I mean, it's cool. It's interesting. It's innovative, but.
And we've been asking for this as a community for years. Like, going back to Cold War, people were like, why don't they just cut out Nocturne Totem and slap the Pack-a-Punch in there, slap the Wonder... I wonder if this is already there. You got an ammo cache in there, throw an Arsenal Station or whatever what it was back then, like the Arsenal Stations or the dummies. Put one in there and have a survival map. You know, do Nocturne Totem from Cold War, from whatever it was, Forsaken's like arcade game. Why couldn't they just make that a survival? Like, we had arguments about that. We had it then. We had it in MW3 being like, why can't they just put perks and all the assets on, like Rust and just make a cutout survival map like that? What's so hard about that? We said the same thing about Vanguard. We said last year too, why can't we get some survival maps, even if they're just cutouts, just and then we get it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, but it should be this way, or it should be more, and it's like, well, hold on, we just asked for that for 7 years. We're getting exactly what we asked for here, and the goalpost starts to move. And I'm the same way. Like, don't worry, I got my ideas. Like, I got exactly what I wanted out of the LGM, and I'm still like, well, the ammo could be a little bit higher. Maybe we could tinker with the DPS a little bit. But like, I'm just saying, not to be a hypocrite, but I've been pounding the table for exactly this. Last year I made a video about Nuketown survival and how great that would be for the game. You already have Nuketown and multiplayer, just throw the stuff on there and it'd be a little bonus map, and people were totally for that. So I don't know, I gotta defend them with the survival maps. I don't know what the expectations were, and honestly with Farm and Diner and even Cosmodrome, I didn't even expect barriers to be on those maps either. I thought they were just going to be completely open. I did not expect to have to turn the power on Farm. Not that it's a bad thing. I do agree with you, though. It does get really annoying, especially when you're doing the camo grind and you got to bring in shit weapons and you got to clear the spores in a certain amount of time. Sometimes you have to buy another weapon to clear those off in the right amount of time. So I totally get what you're going for there. I think it's a nice switch up. I feel, and I totally understand where people are coming from when they say they want more of a chill experience, a more fun experience, a more laid back experience, and that's what you want out of a survival map. But at the end of the day, like, you can get into the same controversy there with Grief. There are people like you and I who are super sweats and loved when Grief was, I'm going to beat your shit in with the Cali sticks, push you into a corner, bully you to death, and that's how I'm going to win this game.
Yep.
But you still have to be strategic with that. You have to be like, I'm going to, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to commit to melee macchiato, first perk, which means I'm not going to have jug, not going to have quick revive, not going to be able to upgrade my weapons here, not going to be able to go armor. Like, you're basically playing offense in a certain way there, while the other team's trying to like play defense and not die that way. But then the majority of people, or a lot of people, are like, hey, I just want custom matches so I can, have a fun time with my friends, or I want a casual experience where I'm not getting beat in with the Cali six, which I understand that 100% too. So I think we're in a similar situation here. And again, I want to reiterate, I personally don't think that they should, if they're planning, and again, this is all speculation because we know that Nuketown in some way, shape, or form is coming. They leaked that on their own by accident. But if we do get a Nuketown survival map, I wouldn't want them to be like, we're not going to take a risk and not spawn the Wonder Fizz in until 20, or we're going to have, the 4 core main perks of double tap, jug, speed cola, and quick revive be the rotating perks from dropping from the sky. I would not want them to get away from that to say, okay, well, let's actually, make it a little bit more casual, friendly, or fun for the people, because one, you're changing the way that Nuketown survival inherently plays just for the sake of making it easier, and two, I just don't think that that's the right call. Not every map has to be easy, especially from a survival map perspective. Like, let's say they do Ashwood. Ashwood is going to be an easy survival map. You have a large area to train at the bottom of Ashwood. You've got double tap the perk. You've got, obviously you can buy Wonder Fizz or whatever, but like it's a lot of open space there. It's on Ashes of the Damned. You're not going to die. There's a large space for you to run around down there at the bottom, or you can play up by the trap. Easy. Going to be a very easy survival map. Nuketown does not have to be that way. Mars does not have to be that way. If there's any other cutout areas from future DLCs coming in that are, let's say, like Keynote or Toten, I'm just making this up, complete bullshit. Let's say the stage from Kino and like the theater from Kino is like a reused asset in another map at some point, and they do like a Kino survival. I wouldn't want them to make that inherently easier by like opening up a stage a little bit more or giving you some extra advantages. Like, I don't want to see it become not every map needs to be light work, and that's just my personal take.
No, absolutely. Guys, 50 plus minutes into the show, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you have the bell notifications on so you don't miss Perkaholics Anonymous podcast uploads, so you don't miss MZC going live on his journey to Mars 999. Comment down below, what have we gotten right so far? What have we gotten wrong? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? All right, MZC, let's try to wrap this up into a nice bow. So obviously what we've talked about so far, you got the LGM1 buff, you have the Mars survival, the cursed experience on the survival maps, you have the spawn room challenges, which I want you to hit on a little bit here. But I think the question, let's kind of separate this question that you have for us here in 2 separate sections. I think I might know the answers to both of them, but I want to hear you elaborate. Is this update enough, number one, for players like you, let's say like players more, who identify with me and you on a higher level? And secondarily, is this enough for kind of your more casual, less grinder of a zombies fan to hold them over until Reloaded, until DLC 2 Paradox Junction?
I think so. And then the reason why I say that is because Cursed, as we've talked about many times on this podcast to a lot of people's distaste, isn't statistically a very popular mode in terms of like viewership on YouTube, in terms of overall, like only a third of the player base has at least tried Cursed. So this is going to give people the opportunity to not only like, not be so overwhelmed, right? The casual fans that just want to get on and have a good time, that are playing Van Dorn Farm or Exit 115 and just want to have a very relaxed experience. This is going to be a good opportunity for them to try Cursed and be like, hey, I actually, here's the original point system. This plays like classic zombies. Now I might go and try to get some of the relics to go get a golden armor place. Because I've had a lot of people coming into my stream going, why are your armor plates golden? What is that pack? How do you have Pack a Punch 4? What is even the perma perks? Some people are like, what's that border around the perks? And it's like, dude, those are perma perks. You get those from, it's not Cursed related, but there's still a good amount of people that might be coming over from multiplayer or from Warzone. In fact, I know there are a lot of people that are like that. I uploaded a guide for Mars Survival that are, is predicated on trying to win your leaderboard. And a lot of people are like, I don't have the Hunter bots, or what augment should I run here? This isn't this. So there's still people that are getting into the mode today, which I think actually bodes well for it. But those people are going to experience curse for the first time, and then go, you know what? I might try and do the Easter egg because I want to try golden armor plates, or I want to try getting Pack-a-Punch level 4, so I have to get to tier 3. And on top of all that, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, I think it's going to give people that either already have tier 3 or that are getting into curse for the first time a better opportunity to test weapons that they want to test, because the map is much smaller. The setup is basically you just spawn in and run around. There's not as much going on. There's not as much juggling. Obviously, you'll have like the elites that are spawning in or whatever, the Xerxes and whatnot. But I think for a casual or a beginner to curse, this is the perfect update for those people, because you can go in and really learn a lot about the mode, have some fun on some things that you haven't tried already, and also it might push you to try to go get some relics. Now, for people that have already been in tier 3, I still think there's a lot to do there, because me personally, over the last like 2 weeks prior to this update coming out, I was playing a lot of curse, doing weapon testing and trying to get weapons for pack 4, but obviously there's no loadouts, so you have to either use a wall weapon or you have to sit there and spin the box until you get the weapon you like. There's no doors to open up on Mars. There are, no additional barricades at all. All you have to do is focus on, I'm just going to spin the box until I get the weapon that I want here. So, yeah, I think between all that, plus the spawn room challenge, and then whatever weapons come out, some of these weapons are really good. You might want to have those leveled up and ready to go for DLC too, because they might be the meta for the boss fight, or they might be just really good on the map. I think there's quite a bit of content to hold people over a month. Now, it depends on who you are as a player. If you are just, I don't really care for Cursed, and you don't really care about Mars Survival, you just want a new map, and that's what you've been looking forward to, fair enough. But I think that there is ample content here. They just need to sort out some of the bugs plaguing the mode, because I don't think it was the content drop this time around that kind of has steered the negativity. I think it's all of the chatter one way or another about DLC 2, and you and I will talk about this in the post show. So if you aren't a Perkaholic, definitely go down there and talk about it, because I'm at this point I'm over it. We're gonna talk about it tonight, and then that's gonna be it. We're gonna move on for the next month until it drops, because at this point I don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on to me. No, it's just there's so much shit one way or another. But yeah, all in all, yeah, I would say personally, I think this is more than enough for the average to semi-hardcore fan to sift through. So it's what's really cooked this time around are those little quality of life issues with the controller, with the TED tasks, with potentially the ammo mods, with some of the other things in the game that are kind of contributing to the negativity or the bad launch of season 2 here for zombies. But I think by season 2 Reloaded, definitely get it all sorted out. What about you?
I think it was, like I said, I think it's a good content release. I'm a little bit nervous what their plan is for DLC 2. I think they need to hit the marketing hard. After this leaderboard event, and after people get through the spawn room only challenges, I think that it does fall off a cliff exponentially after that. I don't really see a whole lot of the community high rounding Mars after the leaderboard event is gone in like whatever it is, 24 hours, whatever it may be. So I think they really can't wait here. This is the second week of February. I would love to see marketing as soon as next week at the latest for DLC 2, and maybe even if we with a date or something or anything, because if they go all of this week without marketing, and then they go even all next week without marketing, and go, the February 26th or February 23rd, they're going to start teasing something for the middle of March. I think they better have a pretty concrete plan moving forward here, or there is going to be hey, we kind of got a blip in the system, but it kind of went back down to it really hasn't been that long since Astra, but it just feels, it's just how it is with these zombies, up and downs with the content releases. Feels so much longer, but this is a good holdover. I think this is something that they missed a little bit last year, and they definitely missed in previous games where you never had this level of content before. So steps in the right direction. I love the thought process. I love the plan, and everything's building for just the future of the franchise and the future of the mode. So I think a very, very good job from TREYARCH for this season 2 launch. I think it's been very successful in my opinion.
It's a solid base too, even though it's just Curse Survival. Well, Curse Survival is a little bit bigger, but even though you get 2 spawn room challenges,
they're learning, they're understanding.
Yeah, and every map is going to get this moving forward for all of this stuff. So it's not only are you going to get whatever DLC 2 is, but you'll get curse support there, and you'll probably get 2 more survival. You probably have 1 more survival map this season at that reloaded point, and the next season, potentially another DLC map and 2 more survival maps. So that might continuously, hopefully, ramp up as the year goes on. Like I said, you'll get survival on that, or you get cursed survival on that. You'll get your spawn room challenges, whatever other LTMs or permanent modes, because I'm hearing that there might be some more permanent modes coming, which could be cool. I don't know anything about that, so we're not going to discuss it. But there's chatter that more different, unique modes might be coming. So it's an update that isn't like, wow, oh my god, we just got an all-time map, but it's not like we just got grief for 2 months. Like, let's not pretend this is the grief update, because it's really not. Like, there's more here than just the grief update. So is it the worst update ever? Is it like so down bad? Not really. And I think the engagement's pretty solid. I mean, I don't know if it's just the Mars leaderboard event. You have people from MP or Warzone over, but like, people are interested in the Mars high round. People are interested in, the event. People are trying to learn it. People are trying to get into Curse. Like, this has really been, outside of the quality of life issues, a net positive if you remove all of the drama about DLC 2 on social media. Like, I think this has been, for the most part, a pretty positive update outside of the bugs. You get those nailed down and fixed for sure, but all in all, like, yeah, man, it's cool. I mean, I haven't even tested the weapons. Like, I use the AR and the SMG a little bit, but I haven't gone into like, attachments. I haven't tried anything.
Yeah.
Like, there's still quite a bit there too. So we'll see as the year goes on. But tell me about your spawn room challenge on Ashes of the Dam, because I know you were like, dude, I just beat this, and it was I'm not washed unk anymore because I beat this. Like, did you use like, tell me how you set up, and tell me how you got to round 50, like from round 1 through 50. Where were your like checkpoints of, okay, now I'm here?
Well, honestly, another thing too, the ultra gums are cool. The ultra gums in between maps are awesome. I like having ultra packs just ready to go for new DLCs and stuff. So you could hop in and you could do the new Easter egg like really fast, and you could duplicate it quick with gift cards and near deaths and stuff for the boss fight. I like that part of it too. So I love the survival concept and the rewards. But Ash's starting room. So I don't even remember what I spawned in with. I can't even remember at this point. I think I spawned in with like an MXR because I was getting Bloodstone on it. But I got I pack punched it once, which looking back on it, I probably wouldn't have, but I was going for a camo at the same time. So I am always trying to multitask in zombies. Probably why I'm not 100% focused on doing one thing, but I'm obviously still trying to get infestation. So I'm trying to get a camo for the MXR. I packed it once, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, there's no way for me to get a rarity buff on this. So I knew I had to go to the box at some point, but I wanted to do that in an appropriate round. It was very similar where I pulled, I think on like 14 or 15, I got just a regular ray gun from the vending machine. So that was good RNG. You have to have a little bit of good RNG, whether it's a box or whether it's that. So I got that from the vending machine, and then a couple of rounds later, I got a gold NPC, and I'm like, okay, cool. I was chilling at that point. Stims, tomahawks, no gums, ether shroud. And then I basically, I let the ray gun kind of sit there at base. I think I pack-a-punched it once, and then I got the NPC all the way to PAP 3, and obviously it was gold out of the box. And then I worked on the ray gun after that, getting your basic perks along the way. Standard perks, like that's what I like about these two. Like, I'm not even going to the perk machine for a lot of stuff there. Like, I wasn't even using Wisp Tea. There's some other stuff I could have bought that probably could have increased and made me go along a little bit faster, but it's like I just get my standard stuff and kind of go with the flow. Jug, speed, stamina up, PhD obviously with the ray gun, trying to use Vulture's Aid, having half success, I would say. And obviously for that, you're going to want Elemental Pop because you don't have any alternate ammo types that you could just get readily available. And then at some point, I was just using shrouds I would have 2 shrouds banked, and I would just use one to get rid of the Zersa on the higher rounds where I couldn't handle it totally by myself without getting totally rid of the horde or totally taking my focus off the horde. So yeah, and then obviously picking stuff up from the ground is big, a couple of mutant injections later, a couple of disciple injections, whatever they're called. And yeah, it was 50, and I had a good time doing it. Like I said, I think I procced one Dying Wish, maybe that was it. Never went down, never was even in situations where I was like, hey, this is getting a little sketchy, besides one time of not really focusing. So I don't think Astro will be the same way. Just from watching your kind of video tutorial, I'm excited to play that as well and see how much more difficult that is. But this was also after almost 70 rounds of Mars Survival, so I was like, okay, this is kind of a huge step down in skill level, at least in my opinion. So it kind of went by very quick. It was fun. I had a good time.
Yeah, Ashes is, I mean, there's a lot of space to run around too. So you got like, if you train under the Janus Towers or you train out by the logo or in the street, like you got some space out there. It's a nice introduction to the survival spawn room challenges, but I would definitely, if I were you, use some, maybe not like Perkaholic, but like crate power gobblegums or some like lightweight ones to help you get through it. Cause
that's what I was thinking after.
Yeah. Cause like, honestly, like I just did it to say I could do it with no, but like, there's no, like it's like 2.5 hours of using tomahawks past round 30 to 50 without messing up. Cause there's no perk. It's just quick revive. Like it's not, if I wasn't just doing it to do it, I would have absolutely thrown on some gums there to help me, even if it wasn't Perkaholic. So if you're going to end up doing that, definitely ice yourself out a little bit, give yourself a little help, because it is going to be just straight up like 2-3
even
kills
on the
house just to try and get jug or as many as you can every once in a while, spin for it. So yeah, if you guys are still doing that. The one thing I did for the starting room on Ashes, that I brought in Toxic Growth for the first like 15 to 20 rounds, and I was getting Pack-a-Punch crystals. I didn't get too many perks, but I got a lot of ether tools too, so I could work on the weapon that I wanted to. I think I was using the new SMG at the time, which was cool. But outside of that, yeah, it's pretty similar. I'm surprised they didn't add anything to Ashes. Not saying it's bad, but last year with like the tomb, you had the Arsenal station and the Pack-a-Punch. So like the tomb was easy. Liberty Falls.
I kind of like that though. I liked Tessie having the Pack-a-Punch. It was sick.
I wasn't expecting that either, because you couldn't get in to get the Ted head. I thought you would have at least had to have done that. But yeah, Tessie having Pack-a-Punch was a nice touch. I don't think they need to add anything.
You know what I would like to see them add? I would like to see them add, and this is very nitpicky. Could they? I think it's very fun without it, but I would love to see even very low percentages all the way up to golden armor from the box.
That could be cool.
I think if you could get a tier 2 play in the box, that would be interesting.
Yeah, that's going to clog up a slot there, but I mean, if you could get golden armor plates, and that's a way to get them in regular standard before, I think that you gotta do that. You consider that. It's a fucking banger idea. Now, the only problem with that is, are they saving those rewards as like a super Easter egg reward? Because PAP 4 and ultra rarity, because the damage scaling stops at 50 in regular survival or regular whatever it is, like standard playlist, the damage scaling is doubled in curse, so it doesn't stop till 100. So essentially, once you get to 100, the weapons are going to do the same amount of damage that, PAP 4 weapons are doing the same amount of damage in cursed at 100 that they would be doing to regular zombies at 55 or at 55, essentially, for like they're scaling over. But if you brought PAP 4 ultra rarity, every weapon would be viable past 55, I think, or most weapons would be good enough to kill past that point. So that would be very interesting. Then it's like, do you bring the golden armor plates early? I guess for a spawn room challenge, if you're just saying like, blue rarity armor or purple rarity armor, that could work too, just for the sake of having them in the box there. But before we get into the community corner, what do you, and I know this is I felt so bad on stream talking about this. Like, I bitched so hard about how bad the Ether Blade was when it came out. Cause like, let's be like, it really was pretty underwhelming for Reckoning, but it would be so good on Mars Survival. And even just in this game period, like it would be super sick, because you could get like 3 kills, that would help chip away at some of the zombies, but then you'd also have the speed boost from stamina up. So it's like, what if they were to do that as like a tier 4 reward for Curse? Like, let's say they add in, because I'm assuming they're going to add in tier 4 and 5 at some point, because you're going to have all these relics. They added, I can't just see them stopping there. Like, would you want to see that if it was to come back? And I know we kind of destroyed it last year, but like if it was to come back, would you rather see it be a tier 4, tier 5 reward for Cursed, or would you rather see it be like a 2,500, 3,000 salvage purchase or 5,000 salvage purchase in the crafting table for either or would you just be like, no blade?
See, this is where I think a lot of people in the community are right by saying that zombies has kind of lost its unique touch, because like we don't have elements like that. We don't have craftable like lethals and tacticals that we're so accustomed and used to in older games and older maps. If they could customize it, I think it would be cool. But for like Mars Survival, I'm gonna take your Ether Blade and I'm gonna raise you one better, and I'm gonna make it an Ether Hunter bot for like 5,000 salvage, and it cuts through the Uber Klaus cores and it comes back to you. Like, that's what I'm thinking about for that map. But yeah, the Ether Blade would be cool too. But I don't know. I think the Blade would be better for a curse reward. But I think if you could, they have all this other like upgradable, customizable stuff, and like the tier 4 and golden armor and pack 4 and ultra rarity, whatever it may be. Like, what's stopping them from putting like upgrades onto stuff in the crafting table, like something that I just suggested? Maybe not that good, but like what's stopping them from doing that next? I know that might be kind of a controversial topic, but like, you're telling me I can't pay double for a war machine and it does more damage, or it has, it's like a grenade launcher, or it shoots like Matryoshka dolls or something? Like, I know they have to be thinking of, that's what I'm saying. They have to be thinking about something like that.
From a damage perspective, everything scales. So like past a certain point, everything becomes like pretty good, viable, I guess. But yeah, dude, imagine like it converts the War Machine or the Grim Reaper or the Death Machine into like Pack Death Machine or something like that. Like that would be like pack-a-punching that'd be super interesting concept. Some people probably be like, no more crafting table. We don't want anything in the crafting table. But I think it'd be an interesting concept to see. I wouldn't completely knock it, but I'd definitely give it a go. So anything, I don't know, because people have been asking me like, so there's been a couple people that have been like, you guys should do an episode or talk about it on the podcast where you say what you would want for tier 4, tier 5 rewards and relics. So yeah, I think for me, at least, to answer that question that's been asked a few times, the Ether Blade is one of them. Very ironically, would be a cool reward, I think. 2, for like a tier 5 in ultra, I don't know, because like I don't know what else they could do that would be aside from like an equipment or like maybe like fucking little Arnie's are on the crafting table, but then I'd rather see that on a regular map, and I don't think they would do that. I don't know. Ether Blade's the best I got there, but I do think relics with lighter debuffs might be the way to go. So like imagine a relic that was like Pack-a-Punch prices are increased by 25%. I mean, your tier 4 is going to be 125k now versus 100k, and it's going to be much harder to Pack-a-Punch, but like that's one where I'd be okay with that, because that's a tier 2 relic that's pushing you closer to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 difficulty, but it's not going to completely, it's only going to affect your setup, right? But once you're set up and you get past that point, then you're chilling. I think stuff like that, they don't all have to be like that, and I definitely think there is room for, heavy debuff relics, but I think that a few more of those like slighter ones that are going to like delay setup or make things a little bit harder, I would be okay with getting those and running a few of those, because it would, really stop me from having to decide, okay, now I can't purchase self-res at the craft table. And I get that's the point of Cursed. I get the whole point is to challenge yourself for some good rewards, because golden armor plates are the best thing in the game for sure. Again, the rarity and the Pack-a-Punch kind of just negate itself if you get to a certain point in terms of damage, but yeah, I don't know. I think a little bit lighter relic buffs would be.
Well, here's a good one for you. What about tier 4 cursed? After the purple armor buy, it turns into a map specific shield buy that you just said has on your back.
I saw that.
Like old school shields.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think that would be so sick. But one, you'd have to go in and then.
You know what people are going to say, though? Reuse swap.
No, what people will say is that, like, why can't this just be like the main feature? Like, why does this have to be a cursed tier 4 reward? Why do I have to use all these debuffs to get to that? That's where I kind of agree with them. I'm not.
You know how many people would get into Curse 4 for that?
Yeah,
though?
that would boost the numbers for sure. People would love to try that and play around with that. But yeah, it comes. I think it just comes back to like, well, I don't want to have to. You're going to have the people that don't even own the game be like, I don't want to have to get the relics to get the armor. Or like, I don't want to spend 30 hours playing the game to get something that should just be a staple on every map. Like, you're gonna have that controversy, and like to some extent, I totally agree. It takes the fun out of speculation and potentially doing something like that. But yeah, at that point, it'd be like, why don't you just get rid of the armor then and make that a standard if you're gonna go down that route to develop something like that? In my opinion, but it would. I'm not saying it's a bad idea at all. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that they could do. They've been fairly creative with the rewards. Again, I do think that the ultra rarity golden armor plates, I think that will be part of a super Easter egg reward, and it'll make all the weapons just really, really good in standard. And I hope that eventually comes a standard. Even if that might, I guess that would kind of negate a lot of the point of Cursed, though. Like, but then again, like I was mentioning, like the weapons essentially do the same damage past 100, like obviously if you brought the PAP 4 weapons to standard, it's always going to do more damage because the scaling stops at 55, but you can only use that in a place where it ends up being the same. It cancels out. It essentially cancels out past a certain point. I'd love to see it be in standard where it can just rip through and every weapon is viable. But think about how expensive. Think about how long it would take to set up a PAP 4 weapon in standard. Like the prices wouldn't be decreased. So you'd still have PAP 3. You'd be getting, you spend your $30K for PAP 3 by around like 20, 25 at the latest. Now imagine having to go and rack up 3 times the amount of points in a mode where the points are already harder to come by than Cursed and buy PAP 4. Like you're probably not getting that until 35, right. 40 maybe. No, probably a little bit earlier than that. Like 30, 35, you might be setting up one PAC 4 weapon. You're probably not getting enough salvage for ultra rarity until 35, 40. Like it's that'll be interesting, but then the payoff will be worth it though, because then those weapons will be good forever. Like it's gonna outperform everything past 50 to a certain extent, but not be too OP either. So I don't know. Very interesting. That'd be my idea for Super Easter egg. We'll see what happens there. But let's get over to the community corner so we can wrap this up a little bit. It's getting a little late for you, Grandpa. Gotta do the post show too and get over there and then get everything added.
Lock in, buddy.
Lock in. We got 3 comments here in the community corner.
All right, guys, and this is from Perkaholics Anonymous Podcast, episode 27. So our most recent episode before this one. We're going to start with Sean. He says, not gonna lie, I look forward to a high round survival leaderboard. Hopefully have some good comp, as my leaderboards are always filled with people that don't even really play. The last leaderboard event I won while working literally every single day, so at best I was playing an hour each morning. No way I should have won TBH. Another thing I'm looking forward to so much is Curse Survival. Ultra Pat 4 is going to be so nice to have. MZC, we found the one guy who wants a sweatier leaderboard lobby, so shout out to you, Sean. We respect the hell out of that, to be honest. And obviously shares the sentiment for Curse Survival. I think getting those like beefier Curse rewards is top of mind for a lot of people going into this update, which is smart. That's a smart approach to have.
That's why I included it, is because it's funny with all the blowback what happened with the leaderboard event, but then also people have been asking for them to go away all year, and this one guy's like, I need it fucking sweaty, bro. I want to have some comp. I don't want to be just cruising through it. I actually totally agree with that. The caps one, I was like in 8th place going into the second to last day, so I had to step it up, and I kind of had fun trying to like battle, because there was a lot of people going back and forth, and in the leaderboard that I have right now for mine, obviously no one's coming for my first place here. obviously he's the best, guys. Obviously he's the greatest. No one's going to be able to catch him. He's not going to proc any dying wishes. Not going to take any bad downs. I've already had a couple of scares. So also, really quickly, they need to fix the Ravagers on Mars. In zero gravity, if you're in the air, they can throw meat at you and they'll insta kill you. They'll all, because there's so many Ravagers on the map. The meat will literally insta kill you. It doesn't matter. You can be away from them and they'll just throw meat at you and you'll go down.
I don't care. That's part of it.
That needs to be fixed. That's gonna cause headaches for other people. Anyways, no, the leaderboard. I can agree with that. I just think it's funny that we got the one guy asking for that, and then looking forward to Curse Survival Ultra Rarity Pat 4 is gonna be so nice to have. Like I said, you don't have to set up on Ashes. Ashes is, even though not a difficult setup, it still takes a lot longer to set up there than on Mars or Van Dorn Farm. Same thing with Astra Malorum. So totally agree with you, Sean. Hopefully you're still feeling the same way and you had some good comp this weekend for the leaderboard event.
All right. They say, I've recently started doing the relics for Curse because I want to get the tier 3 reward on the survival maps, and I genuinely didn't realize how fun it would be. Me and my mates, who are very casual zombies players, are having a blast with it, specifically with the gun game, double damage, no ammo crates, and halved salvage. Yeah, honestly, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know if Curse was really designed to be like a co-op experience, but I think it would be fun with, like, I think me, you, Mike, I think a lot of people who are just more like casual zombies players who haven't even played that much in this mode, hopping on and getting stuff with like Fajardi and people like that. I think that'd be cool. I didn't really think about it like that, but kind of like an interesting challenge, and like brings you back to the old school days almost of like who's gonna need to be carried in the squad we're booting up into.
I agree, and I think that for as much as we've kind of highlighted the negativities and the shortcomings of Cursed, even though I think that it is a good building block. I've always admitted it's a good building block for the future. It should never go away. I think it is a mode that, you know, people like it, continue to support it. I'm actually starting to see a bigger picture for the mode in terms of its longevity here in this game, because I think that you and I have talked about this a lot throughout the year. We both feel like the longevity of Black Ops 7, at least for its life cycle, in terms of it being going until the end of this year, is going to be more consistent than Black Ops 6. I think that Black Ops 6 had like the higher peak at launch in DLC 1, and then it like completely kept going downhill. I think this is more of a fluctuation where like you have the launch peak and then it stays kind of around that same point for Astra, and then you have a big obviously drop from Christmas break and whatnot. I think the interest will pick back up again for this map, good or bad, probably go flat again, but then the next time, if the last 3 maps are relatively good, I think there are going to be more people invested in the story, more people invested in the game this year than last year. So I think that Cursed, especially getting, what is it, like 4 new relics every single map, or 6 new relics, however many it is, I think it's 6, 2 in each category, will be very beneficial for the longevity of Cursed, because more and more people are going to want to get the ones that might be easier relics so that they can have a more relaxed time in Cursed survival and just play around and experience PAP 4. So definitely, I'm not doing like a full 180 on Cursed. I still stand by a lot of the points that we've made, and from a viewership perspective and a numbers perspective, it's not nearly as popular as Standard. It might not be as popular as we thought it would be, but I think that number actually could go up throughout the year with the different relics that'll be coming into the game. Maybe if there is tier 4 and 5 Cursed, I think the longevity of it will be good. And I've started to come around to the idea that like this might be something that in 2 years people look back on that skipped the game are going to come back and be like, oh my God, I didn't realize how good Curse was, or I didn't realize how much fun I could have had. Because like you do, and I totally, with the Ashes of the Damned ones, like dude, doing the Mr. Peaks one in solo is a pain in the ass if you're not using Gobblegums, because you have to wait for your Ether Shroud to recharge 10 individual times. Like that is tough. Not that it's really hard, but like that's so time consuming. When Curse first came out, there was a ton of, I crashed 4 or 5 times going for the round 60 relics when the portal would spawn in. Like there were glaring problems with it when it came out, but I think that in 2 to 3 years, maybe even further down the line, when people come back to visit this game, especially if the Black Ops 6 maps get carried forward and everything is on Cursed mode, I think you're going to have a lot of people looking back at this and being like, man, we really slept on Cursed, or man, you know, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, or hey, this isn't even that bad, or people that didn't even get to buy the game get it on sale for $20 and they're like, dude, there's a lot of content in this game. And we'll have like a Black Ops 4 situation, or, you know, we always do this with every COD game. But yeah, I think that the longevity here, and in 2 to 3 years, people come back and look at Cursed. And I'll admit, I was a little ignorant about it. Like I'm coming around. Still not my favorite game mode. I still like to boot up and test the weapons, like DLC weapons, right away, and do that too. But yeah, definitely, I think we'll get more runtime as the year goes on. And I think that that's a good spot. And I agree with Clay.
All right, last and final from Chris. Chris, we appreciate you being a member. Thank you very much. Chris. He says, love it. Coach Chris, locking in here. I think a key issue with zombies currently is the gameplay feel of high rounding just isn't there. When you play Black Ops 3 and you train zombies in Shadows of Evil Alley, Ascension Spawn Room, or even if you do Shangri-La Fireworks Trap by Water Slide, they all feel perfectly paced. You're overpowered, but not too overpowered to where you can just relax. One slip up and you go down and you're incredibly vulnerable. I feel like now it's so easy to just high round. Zombies seems to suffer from a power creep a bit. In order to make high rounds engaging, they have to create super sprinters and increase the zombie boss spawns, which in turn forces players to just camp and spam wonder weapons or score streaks until they hit whatever round they want, which this demands less skill. Make high rounding great again in 2026, and you do so by making it a learned skill, not just something anyone can do. Before you say Black Ops 3 camping strats are also cheeks, how many require you to have unlimited gums on PC? Shadows, DE, Varuk, the Giant Moon all require gum spam to get to around 100, which is not available to console players, and therefore you must learn to train, even if it's just for a few rounds. Sorry for the War and Peace size comment, but man, I would have loved to play all these Black Ops 4 maps on the Black Ops 3 engine. Same goes for many of the games since then. This is a very prophetic comment from Chris, because this is basically exactly what Mars accomplished and what we've been talking about kind of the whole show. So Chris, if you're the dev or you're on the inside of Treyarch, good job. We appreciate you. If not, they need you because they just listen to you verbatim. It seemed like
I included this again. These were from last week's episode, so there would have been no way to know that Mars was going to play this certain way. But I think that
that's a banger.
Chris, I think that Mars achieves a lot of this. Obviously you still have your salvage, you still have your armor. There's not really a map specific thing outside of the wonder weapons. So you don't have your armies, you don't have your specialist. But I think the core gameplay and what you're hitting at here with the AAT wonder weapon proc is what Mars Survival is. It'll be tough to tell if the future DLC maps or survival maps will play like this at all. Like, my hope for at least Nuketown is that it's similar to BO2, where you got to run around in the backyard and proc ammo mods to get to high rounds. Obviously with new maps and new wonder weapons that might be really OP, people are always going to find some strategy. No matter what you do, unless you just completely take them out of the game, you're going to have people finding things and exploits, not only exploits, but strategies that involve jumping off the wall, knocking down zombies, and using your RPG to infinite rounds. Like, it's been like that since BO4, but I agree with you. And I think that Mars is all the better for having the strategy only basically be crafted like BO3. It feels like whoever tested this, obviously you didn't design Mars to be a survival map. You designed it as part of Astra Malorum. But whoever sat down and tested the gameplay flow of this was probably like, there's a real opportunity here to make this AAT wonder weapon, especially with some of the augments that we've got. Like, Brain Rot is the best ammo mod in the game. But it wasn't last year. It was the new ammo mod they added for the major and one of the minors that are really good. Napalm Burst got a buff. Shatter Blast has been fixed and buffed. Deadwire is really, really good. Fireworks is really, really good. It seems like my complaint last year with the ammo mods, and a lot of people's complaints with the ammo mods for a long time now, is that they're not like the BO3 ones where I can get these and they might be good for me, but I'm not using them past a certain point. I'm only getting these to kill and do elemental damage to the specials and the elites. This is, for the first time in a long time, an opportunity to use it like Black Ops 3, and it plays as such. And I would definitely recommend, if you do have BO7 or you have been playing or you haven't booted up for Mars yet, if you do like that gameplay loop, definitely learn the Mars strategy, because it does kind of give you that same fix and feel that you had back in the day. So again, praying here that, maybe not every DLC map is like that, but Nuketown is too, so it gives you kind of a classic feel, and for some of the OGs, gives it a reason to come back and almost play Nuketown like BO3. So we'll see what happens. I'm optimistic. I typically am. We typically are, but we'll see what happens here in the near future with new DLC maps and more survival maps, and hopefully sticking with that formula of AAT wonder weapon / special ability for each map, or a special grenade or whatever. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the Perkaholics Anonymous podcast episode 28, Community Corner in the books. MZC, any final thoughts here before we kick it over onto the post show? We're going to be talking about Paradox Junction, so getting that tier 2 Pack Light membership tier, and we'll see you guys over there. All right, cool. Good job, MZC. A lot of stuff to talk about. Season 2 off to an interesting start. We'll be monitoring it moving forward. And yeah, guys, appreciate you guys hanging along for the ride. Perkaholics Anonymous podcast, always fair everywhere.
Honest, fair.
Make sure you guys stay hydrated. Stay safe. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.